Jaws.
Oh,
Jaws. Don't wait for
I
me.
was gonna say like.
Hey, everybody. It's Carlos from Mortals Inc. Podcast. On time, as always.
Yeah.
Unlike the rest of the people. No, I'm kidding. How you doing? Mortals Inc. Podcast. Once again, I'm joined by Nate Elwood.
How you doing?
And on the keyboards and the technical advisor is Josh Stallings. We'll give him credit. He did a lot of work so far. Even though he's a liar. No, I'm kidding. Nate and I are going to talk about a little game called Kids on Bikes today. It is very thin. It's very amusing, and I thought it was kind of cool. Who's it by again?
This is by Renegade Game Studios and Infectious Play Publications.
Cool.
It was a Kickstarter that got published.
Cool. So anything new? Let's get the new out of the way first. I'm sorry, guys. I literally went from doing a whole bunch of work at the shop to just sitting down and doing this. And after the dog destroyed all the cameras for 10 minutes.
Based off of what you were doing out there, there's a ton of 40K that came in here. There's a ton of
restocked. They got all the basic stuff again.
A bunch of D&D stuff I noticed up on the shelves.
I'm fully stocked on D&D and a whole bunch of role-playing games. It's funny because we got these brand new shelves and they make it look fancy.
It does look very fancy.
It's fancy. If you haven't been here, come check out our fancy shelves. It feels as if you're buying a ancient tome
or an antique.
Yeah, you're in an antique shop. It's kind of cool. I'm sure people will be like, he's annoying.
Well, we'll just see how long it takes for someone to break a door. But yeah.
Oh my God, I don't think they can. A glass maybe, but I don't think the door. But if you break that glass on the door, you're gonna know it. You'll be missing an arm or something. So don't break the glass.
It is very cool though.
I know this week I got the new White Dwarf came in for 40K.
Yes.
Or Games Workshop stuff.
And that's going to cover the new game, the fighter game Imperialis, Aeronautics Imperialis, which is a dogfight with planes in the 41st millennium.
Yeah,
so,
that came out already, didn't it?
Yeah,
it came out.
But it's gonna. I know it's featured in this.
Oh,
this
is it a special one?
Dwarf,
Yeah, I haven't looked at it yet because who has time? No, I'm kidding. Also, this weekend, from while we're on Games Workshop, the Raven Guard Kokodat supplement and the Iron Hand supplement is coming out.
More Space Marine stuff,
along with a Primaris Lieutenant in Phobia armor.
Phobos armor. Yeah.
What is that? Phobos?
It's just cooler armor.
It's cooler armor. It's Fieros from Iron Hands and Kayvon Shriek from Raven Guard miniatures.
Yes. So new miniatures if you're into Space Marines and those specific chapters.
Yeah. We also have 2 new board games. I think this weekend, Sunday, Ken from Geekcraft. I hope that's the right thing. I keep forgetting. It's Geekcraft. Yeah, geekcraft.com is coming in. He's going to be doing Bosk, which is the game of falling trees and falling leaves.
I hope it's more exciting than that sounds.
No, usually they are.
Okay.
So it's usually resource management. These are like hardcore board games.
Okay. I'm about to say
a tree fell. Here's some leaves. No, they're actually pretty good stuff.
Roll dice to see how much of it decays or something.
Yeah, it's like Splendor. You ever play Splendor? I don't know if it's like Splendor, but I remember Splendor. I'm like, I don't want to play some dumb gem game. No, it's really good. Resource management goes back and forth, and it's a lot of thinking. But yeah, a lot of those games are like that. They're kind of a goofy premise, but they're pretty good. There's another one he showed me. It's called. I got it in. It came out. It's called Unmatched: Battle of Legends, Volume 1. Things like you're fighting King Arthur versus Medusa. And I don't know. If you know what it is, it's here.
Like
he was very excited about it, and he had a lot of it going on. So this guy knows a lot about board games. Poor Ken. Restock on Avalon and the Restrained, the Resistance. Those games for whatever is out. I got some more Gideon spell books. Very limited amount of them.
Is that Magic the Gathering? Yeah, I'm about to say that's...
Yeah, some very limited stuff.
Snatch it up then, guys.
Yeah. D&D Essentials kits, the box set, it's about $5 more, but it's the bigger, fancier starter box. I think you get some more maps and some other stuff in there. It's kind of cool.
For solo?
D&D Essentials, solo adventures. A DM and 1 player. I thought you meant a solo adventure. Oh, okay.
I was about to say, like, that sounds...
Says it's got rules for sidekicks and probably henchmen or something.
I've never heard of a solo role-playing game before, like where you just... a solitaire role-play game.
You never had the Pick a Path adventure books?
Oh, well, yeah, but I mean,
okay.
It's hard to role-play if you're the only one there. You know,
Yeah,
you're just pantomiming to yourself.
Unless you're is that guy with... Yeah, no. Unless you got a couple of personalities in there.
Yeah,
cool.
well, hey, to each their own.
Yeah, and then Baldur's Gate, the latest adventure.
Yeah.
Descent into Avernus.
Yeah.
We have both copies, the normal copy and the limited edition.
Limited
copy.
edition, like Art Nouveau copies.
Yeah.
Actually, look really, really cool. They did that with the Ghost of Saltmarsh, too, and it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, we have still some of them, too. I haven't even got.
And that's worth it. If people, that's worth picking up. I've heard a lot of good stuff about the Ghost of Saltmarsh. If anything, some people are like, pick it up just for the naval combat rules because it gives a lot of stuff about ships and everything else.
See, a lot of guys like that, like the pirates and the Navy. And I'm not a big fan of like boats myself, so maybe that's why it translates into the I don't like role playing it because to me it's all terrifying. I'll play in a game where I get stuck in a boat where it's a horror game,
right?
That's terrible, but I don't want to DM it. But yeah, it's pretty good. But that Avernus is Descents into Hell.
Yeah,
right?
it's in hell. Yeah.
Basically, it's that, and there's a whole lot of demons and devils and just a mess.
And it's at what is it, Baldur's Gate?
Yes. Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, so you got
it ties in with everything else.
Everything else. So
I think it's only the first level too.
The first level? Oh, it's only the first level of hell.
So it's our work then.
No. Yeah, maybe.
Work and home life. All right.
That's what I do when I leave here.
Yeah.
I'm going to go fight my way through the level of hell. But, that would mean there's 9 more supplements. Probably.
Or 7, depending on, if you go by Dante or somebody else. I mean.
I thought there was 9. 7.
Is it
it's 9? Yeah, it's 9 in D&D for some reason.
Yeah.
It's like in 1,000 years, it'll change to 9. The church of Gygax. But, so, man, how did we get on that? I don't know. We were just talking about that. Oh, but the dice set.
Yes,
they have a little dice set that comes with it.
It's not little. It's actually a pretty big dice.
Yeah, it's a pretty big set of dice, but there's extras in there. There was a map and.
There's a box.
Yeah.
Dice.
Oh, there's a dice rolling
tray.
Box.
Yeah.
Cards in there.
Oh, there's some cards in there for the different demons.
Pictures and descriptions of them.
Oh, that's kind of fancy.
That's really actually the some of the stuff that they've put out for D&D is kind of cool.
Josh
stuff.
said there was like pictures of demons. There's cards with pictures of demons and descriptions on there. There's a dice rolling tray with the dice and.
Well, they have the monster card pack where you just you can randomly go through and pull out the.
Which I can never keep in stock every time.
No, there's no. Oh, it's just a picture and a description.
No stats.
Stats to come later, I guess.
Yeah,
that's going to be another supplement.
Yeah, stats are in the book. Come on, they're still selling stuff.
This is what you see. They hand it to your players.
Descriptive stuff. Yeah, okay.
That makes sense
Cool.
too.
I guess
pictures are worth 1,000 words.
That's my biggest thing. When I run out of descriptions when I try to play.
Honestly,
a game.
looking back, like I remember first playing D&D and having just that little picture of whatever monster.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just being like the DM, just being like you're fighting this, and you're pointing at instantly. Like how would you describe a beholder? Like if you didn't see a picture of one, didn't know what one was. So it's a meatball with tentacles and eye stalks on it.
We are not writers. And then it's funny because you see the original description of that stuff. It's very vague.
Oh, yeah.
And then some artists just took it and ran with it, which is what they do. I guess that's their job,
well,
right?
I mean, the AD&D, the first edition of it, like that old monster manual, I mean, that the artwork is phenomenal, don't get me wrong. I mean, for when it was printed and everything, the people, they had teenagers writing this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Gygax would be like, here's a weird monster. Go give me your description of it.
Here's a bugbear, and it's still on line paper. You
can see
Okay, we're good.
But to see where it's come from then to now is amazing. It's the Monster Manual for the 5th edition book is great.
Mm-hmm,
and I don't know, go off on a little tangent, but just the artwork in general, looking at the D&D 5th edition they have, it's not just white dudes with blue eyes and blonde hair. I mean, it's all different races, all different colors. I mean, it's awesome.
It's become diverse. Diverse. And the game itself is.
I mean, it's not like shocking. It's good to see that. Like I always thought it was like you go through a old AD&D 2nd edition book, and I mean, every wizard is copy paste, just old white guy or voluptuous woman.
Voluptuous evil woman or Gandalf. That's your choices.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's cool. All right. Well, anyway, yeah, we got all that stuff here.
Yes.
Come look it out. Along with just come look at these cool shelves. I'm impressed by them.
Yeah.
I almost broke my neck getting them, but physically moving them since no one would help me.
They do look good though. They
I
do
know
look
they
good.
do.
And there's something very satisfying about sliding it and grabbing a book. And
Yeah, it's under glass. It's
the
cool.
novelty of it, I guess.
If I could find 10 more, that'd be great. But I doubt that it's going to happen. But all right, well, Nate, bring us to Kids on Bikes.
All right, so Kids on Bikes
Looks like a little comic book.
It is. Let's say 74 pages.
Sorry, man.
That's total. 74 total.
Hold on, shelf dust. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Novel size, obviously. Retails for $25, I think. The artwork in it, it reminds me a lot of like late 80s, early 90s, like comic book artwork, which goes really well with the theme of the book itself. It's not like spectacular, but it's not bad either. There's a lot to the book, but not a lot at the same time. They keep a lot vague, but I'll get into that in a second with the system. But overall, just as a book itself, I mean, it's a paperback. It's got glossy pages and stuff. So, wear and tear. If you're carting this thing around all the time as like your main rule book or your main game that you play, it might wear out over a little bit because it's not a hardbound. But overall, it's a decent book.
Yeah, it's like a graphic novel almost.
So the premise of it, which is very, very, very heavily influenced by Stranger Things.
Things that are strange.
Yes, things that are strange. It's basically it's a collaborative role-playing game. It's really what I can describe it as. You get a group of people together, and then you first as everybody, and which seems to be a kind of a trend with more modern role-playing games. They have an entire little section about, and this one more so than others, about setting the boundaries for the game. So everybody at the table, if there's a specific subject matter that you definitely do not wish to have involved, you make that known. You don't have to, they talk about how it's very important to collaborate with your other players, and the game is meant to be fun. So if you have somebody there and you're bringing up subject matter that is making the game unfun for them or uncomfortable, it's important that you get it out in the beginning. Just basic, to me, that's just basic interactions with people. But I can see where it comes into play with a group maybe that you don't know very well, or the people you don't know very well.
Yeah.
But it's more than just disclaimers, which I've noticed. Like it seems like most role playing games now are really talking about, hey, you don't talk about this stuff. Like if unless you know the players and everybody's cool with it, don't bring up certain subject matters. Like unless you're running a really dark game and everybody's on board for that, you shouldn't just throw that out into a pickup game. So, but to me, that's common sense. But they do give a pretty good.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do a whole episode on that
of setting boundaries and stuff.
Well,
like that.
Yeah, and why I think you have your thoughts, I have my thoughts.
Right.
But yeah, I see it's a first whole page here, and it's not bad setting boundaries.
Well, it goes even throughout the book because when you start to create your character, it goes into like if you want to play a character, let's say that has a mental disability or a physical disability or whatever, and they make it very clear that, like, you shouldn't play that type of character if that's going to be comic relief. And part of me is like,
I kind of ride Josh's wheelchair around the shop all day.
Well,
people laugh.
The thing is,
but
like,
that's our
right. Like,
You know me, man.
right.
Yeah, they know me.
I mean, again, it's just, to me, it's just common sense. Like, if you know the group that you're working with, so. But that's neither here nor there. But it's just, to me, I've noticed that a lot more with a lot of the newer role playing games where they'll talk, like even with Pathfinder, the last review we had, where they had like the X card, where if somebody all of a sudden gets really uncomfortable because you're bringing up a topic and they push the X card to the center of the table, whatever you're talking about, you need to stop talking about it.
Yeah, like I said, we'll do a whole thing on, and that'll be one of those that'll probably get a nasty gram about. But I have my thoughts, you have your thoughts, and I agree with it.
As the old saying goes, opinions are like buttholes. Everyone has one, and they all stink.
Yep.
So,
except for mine. No, I'm kidding.
It's roses, right? All right. So, collaborative creation. Mm-hmm. The first thing that the group does when they sit down is you guys decide on what time period you're going to be playing in. And they suggest, excuse me, they suggest any time period before everybody has a computer and or camera in their pocket. So anywhere between, they say going back even as far as the 20s if you want. It'd be a little more difficult to go further than that based on the game, but up to probably the 90s. Doesn't mean you can't play in the modern time, but the feel of the game would be a lot better if that instant communication isn't there and the instant availability to prove stuff via photo is not right there.
Yeah, instant everything kind of killed horror.
In a way.
In modern, as we
you
know
can
it.
still do it. You can still do it.
I've
Just
seen
takes more.
plenty.
It takes more creativity.
Yeah, I've seen good stuff. But
yes,
go ahead.
So you decide your era, and then the location, and they say it's got to be a small town. It's got to be a town where everybody at least knows each other by sight. They might not know each other by name, but everybody kind of knows each other. It can't be like a really big city or anything like that because you need that small setting for this type of game. Which makes sense for the game too, the way it's set up and everything. And I'm sure with some work you could set it in Chicago or New York or whatever, but it really does work really much better when it's a small setting. And then everybody starts to begin to create their characters. After you get the setting and the town and the whole kind of how everybody kind of knows each other because it's a small town, every player then will start to describe the town by giving a couple of details just off the top of their head. So you'll give a detail about something, maybe a secret or a rumor, and then so you guys are creating the town as you're doing it. So let's say we sit down, we're like, we're going to be in Nova, Ohio, this tiny small town in southern Ohio, and you're like, well, like what was like the GM would be like, okay, so what's Nova? What's the main attraction or whatever it may be in Nova? What makes Nova a town?
Okay.
And it's agricultural, but they do have, let's say, a mine or something like that.
Yeah, you're world building. You're
right.
building,
You collaboratively world build your town together, and that helps each person who's playing in it also be able to tie their characters together. So then you get to your character creation. Now you can play children, teens, or adults, and each person basically takes a trope, or you can build from ground up, they call it, but you can take a trope where it gives you kind of your stats already and based off of what trope you're, like the popular kid, the weirdo, the geeky kid, the bully, the like with the adults, the professional, the stay-at-home mom, stuff like that.
Theorist, loner, weirdo, overprotective parent. Yeah, they're all made up already.
Now you can do that because that throws you into like 9/10 of your character already. It has all the stats and stuff done. And the stats, there's only 6 of them. There's brains, brawn, fight, flight, charm, and grit. And those are pretty self-explanatory about what they do. And much like Savage Worlds, you're assigning a die to them, not a number. So your best skill is going to be a D20, and then it goes all the way down to a D4. So obviously, if you're at a D4 in something, it's something that you're severely under par in, and a D20 is something that you're well over par in. And it works out pretty well. Like, obviously, if you got a kid, like a small child, you're playing a 9-year-old, you're not going to have a 20 in fight, a D20 in fight or stuff. So, I mean, it just like in Savage Worlds, it gives you that, what you're good at, what you're not good at off the rip.
Do you get one of each and you assign?
Yes. You get one die, so you get one D20.
One of the classic role-playing, D4, D6, it's a D20.
Yes.
And then you assign.
And then you assign them to either, brains, brawn, fight, flight, charm, and grit.
Okay.
Then you get some strengths. If you're a child, every child gets one strength for free, which is I think it's quick healer, because little kids bounce back. And I was reading, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes total sense. Like if you take an injury, it doesn't take you as long to recover. It doesn't have as long of a lasting effect. Because I'm always reminded of when my daughter was like in her crawling stage and climbing stage, she tried to climb up on a swivel chair. The chair swiveled, she fell, and she cried and cried. And I'm like, oh, all right. Next day, we realized her arm was all rubbery, so she broke her arm. Had to put a cast on it. That cast was only on for 5 days. It only took 5 days. Doc's like, we can cut that off in 5 days. It'll be fine. They're like rubber at this point. So I'm like, oh yeah, kids make sense. Like if I fall down and break my arm now, as opposed to my daughter falling down and breaking her arm. It'd be weeks and weeks that I'd be doing it. So I'm like, that's really actually pretty cool.
So your daughter's a deep one? No.
Shh. Adults get a free skill. Like they get us. And what's weird is there's no real skills. You just say, I'm a mechanic, or I'm a computer whatever, or if it's further back in time, right? I'm a bootlegger, whatever it may be. You get that skill. And then teenagers, they're rebellious, so they get modifiers to either resisting, like a charm from a younger person, or resisting, being manipulated by an older person. So I mean, I thought that was pretty cool. They put in some neat stuff for that. But other than that, there's not much more to it. You assign the stuff you want. You take a couple of strengths. You then figure out a couple of flaws that really don't have any pneumatic value or mechanic. It's just narrative. And then you make up what you would have. They call it the backpack, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a backpack you carry, but just stuff that your character would have on them at all times.
Like a pocket watch.
Right.
Or
you make up a couple of fears that they have, or one fear, or something that they're truly afraid of, not like, oh, just spiders. I mean, you have to be so terrified of spiders that it would catatonic, like a phobia.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's about it. And then you guys collaboratively, keep saying that wrong, start answering questions. There's a chart in the back. You can either do it a couple of ways. You can either answer like 4 or 5 of the questions, or you can randomly roll and answer one of those questions. And some of the questions are positive aspects of each other's characters, and some are negative aspects. So for each character that you have to give a reason, how do you know them and everything. So it builds the group, it builds the town, and kind of just sets up the sandbox for the GM to start playing.
It sounds like it's really building up the background to play. I mean, that's a lot of background before. Like other games, you would be like, I met him at the bar, I did this or whatever. But this sounds like you're building the world to put your people in, and then you have to explain what your interaction, negative or positive, is with these people,
right?
And why you're together.
And they give good examples of how to create characters throughout the character creation chapter. I like looking at that. I'm like, this is pretty cool. That's, I like that idea of everybody coming together. That way, a lot of the work is done by everybody. You're collaboratively building this town, coming up with the rumors of some weird stuff, but what's the main, obviously if you have a town that's focused that, used to make cars and now is part of the Rust Belt, would have a very different feel than an agricultural town that is really, has one of some like a mega church or something, what I mean? So
yeah, like all those minds together that's kind of cool.
So I like that a lot.
Yeah,
I like that a lot. And then you get to the actual rules. And the system is interesting. It's not bad, but to be honest, it's not great either, because it's so ambiguous of how or interpretive of how things happen. Mm-hmm. You don't have like a hit point stat or anything like that.
There's a GM, right?
Oh, yeah, there's a GM. Yeah. Like the GM will set a difficulty, and then you have to decide based on the situation that you're in what one of your 6 stats that would apply to, and you as a player would be like, well, I think this stat would apply to it, and this is why I think this would apply to it. And the GM would be like, okay, I can kind of see that, but it might be a little harder for you to do, because it's clearly this other stat that would, So it's like a back and forth talk.
And you get to roll the dice attached to that stat.
Right, and then the GM sets a difficulty, and then you have to roll over that difficulty on your die to succeed. So based on how well you do or how bad you fail, you have like a chart of failures, you have a chart of successes, and then you have a difficulty chart. So it's set up that every die roll is kind of not just random, but like, let's say in combat, right? Since there's no hit points, how do you figure out? Because you do get hurt in this. You can get killed in this game. So how do you figure that out? Well, you are contested rolls, and based on who wins that contested roll, it's how the narrative goes. So this is what happens, but you get to narrate what happens. Like, like it's a minor injury, but instead
based on the dice roll?
Instead of the person that dodged really well, it's the person that attacked giving the narration of it. So yeah, all you know is that it has to end in a minor injury, but Yeah, I
Doesn't matter how you
punch him in
get
the
there,
face
yeah.
and he gets knocked down. Now you're adding a new element to.
So like what I'm just looking like, there's a pre-made character for a laid back slacker, and he's got a flight of a D20.
Right.
So say he's got to get away or something like that, and he just jumps in a car. Says I'm going to try and pull away during like people trying to pull him out of the car or something like that.
Right.
He would say that's a difficulty of like 12. He would roll his D20 if he gets above
A 12.
12.
Now, when you fail, you get what's called an adversary token, just a whatever chit or penny or whatever, and you can actually use those adversary tokens to increase your die roll by +1.
Oh, so your bad luck eventually has to turn.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
They use that in some other systems.
Yeah.
I've seen.
Yeah. Savage World uses something kind of similar.
Yeah, because even if you're having crappy dice rolls, at least you can be like, you got a big old pile of chips here, and you're
right.
like,
yeah,
all in.
I
got to get away. All in.
This needs to happen and throw them down. Right. So
no, that's pretty good. That shows that's pretty innovative.
I honestly,
I've seen it in other types of systems like that where they shift back and forth, but that's pretty good.
To be honest, it's personally, I walk the middle line of it. I'm like, I see the benefits of this type of system, and I kind of like how it's not really really rigid. At the same time, I kind of like I wish they would have like a little more structure to it as far as it goes, because it's easier sometimes because what happens if you have two people that argue about what goes on?
That's what the GMs are.
Well, to me it's easier to be like, boom, oh, I got it or I didn't. This is what happens based on this dice roll. I kind of like that.
Yeah, as a group, you could say, well, this
right.
That goes back to if somebody. It's a game. We don't all get along here. If you got to argue the point, then like I've noticed, like the more I've listened to these games and listened to us go over a lot of these games, the simpler, where it's more storytelling, almost appeals to me a little more. Just to sit back and I don't need the charts and the numbers and this and that. Like this is already I'm like, oh, I like this.
Yeah, I'm not talking Roll Master here, but I mean
no, but even like D&D is getting. Sometimes I'm like, oh man, like our last session of D&D, I went out of my way to not roll a die. I just wanted the story to be told because I needed to know where they're going to go. Right. I needed them to and I let them decide what's going to happen, and they came up with the stories. Okay, now I can prepare next week for this number crunch,
right?
And all this stuff that's going to happen. But the more we do this, the more I like these simple storytelling games where the dice roll just as you did or you didn't.
Right. Well, what's also cool about it is obviously odd things are going to happen in this town while you're in it. So it also introduces, depending on if you're running like a one-off or maybe a couple of adventures or maybe even a campaign if you want, the powered character. So there's going to be, or I should say the powered NPC. It's an NPC character that the players have control over that has some kind of weird power that you can randomly create. Now, what's neat about
like a numbered character?
Maybe there's like 11 of them. I don't know.
This is a random number, 11.
Yeah. So they have charts in here
That's pretty good
about the different types of aspects that this character can have. And what you do is you take index cards and you put those for example, let's say.
I'm already thinking of not only 11, but what was that other? It was a Stephen King one. Dougie. What's it, Dougie?
Well,
Dougie, Dreamcatchers.
Yeah. Always.
Yeah, the Dougie. Duddits. Not that we're making fun of handicapped people now, but Duddits.
So you have like a couple of personality traits, a couple of relationships to the group traits, and then some psychic powers, basically. You get.
I like how they're all on one page. Well, already, I like this.
A couple of pages, very simple. But let's say I roll and I get good at hiding and thinks they are being pursued by a cult. So I'd write those on index cards.
No, I do that every day.
And then I would have believes a member of the group is also being pursued and demands complete respect or worship from the group. Right. So I write that down.
Sound like me? I don't know, Josh. What do you think?
And then we put able to change their body density and
oh God, I wish
able to create illusions. All right.
The illusion.
I have those, and I take those cards, I mix them up, and I put 2 or 1 in front of, depending on how many players there are, in front of each person, and that's what the player sees. So any time that the NPC is going to do something that is
weird,
referencing that aspect of them, the person who has that card in front of them narrates what happens. Now, anybody at the table can activate it. Let's say the thing was able to go and become invisible. And there's a situation where one character's like, I think this is where this character would come in. They turn the card to the side in front of the different player, but that player that had that card now narrates the story and tells how that happened.
Of the NPC.
Of the NPC. So it's like a collaborative NPC.
Okay. If you need him,
it's hard to explain, I think, just as a tidbit like this.
I get it.
When you read the rules and you read it makes more sense, but I'm not going to sit here and read it verbatim, it's a nifty idea.
You have a bunch of cards with abilities on them.
Right. Or aspects of it, like scared of cats or whatever it may be.
So at what point something happens in the story and the NPC's involved, one player can say, hey, that would work for that, turn that player's card that owns that card, and then that player has to tell the story.
The player that had the card in front of him then takes over the narration. So
that's pretty good. Hey,
and it's just like in combat. Like if we're rolling against each other and you roll better than me, well, it actually has a combat, what is it? Failures and successes. And
I saw that.
It has a few
real
charts.
simple.
It's very simple. I mean, the actual rules aren't that much. Most of this is how do you build characters, how do you build a story, and how do you deal with an NPC.
So what's the? Is there an antagonist or what's the villain or
whatever you want?
Just anything.
I mean, it's
could be a
really
cult or a monster.
It could be a cult. It could be a monster. It could be supernatural entity. Could be anything.
I kind of get to feel like the first page in this book when you flip it open, that picture on the first page, I think.
Yes.
Sums it up. It's like
something weird.
Turn it here. Can you put it? I can't see the screen.
There, that's.
If you get it. You got it.
There it is.
That sums it up. Like you're on their bikes and that's in the woods. Deal with it.
You could even go the other way with weird government stuff going on or experiments or rip it straight out of Stranger Things.
Just anything.
I'm surprised Netflix isn't suing them. So I mean,
well,
but it's
something ran from Area 51.
Yeah, I mean, you could have whatever your mind and whatever your group's willing to be around. I mean, this is taking place in a small town, so small towns have a lot of nuance to them and a lot of weird stuff too. Every small town has its own
secrets,
right.
Yeah.
It's its own secrets.
Then I like this because it's real vague. You could go, like you said, you can go real light.
Right. You can go
fun,
very light fun.
I could immediately see where I could take this real dark.
Right.
And still have a good story.
Oh, I could see where if you have a group of people that are really really well and everybody knows what their buttons are. I mean, you could make this excessively dark and
crazy.
And sickening to a degree. Just like any game, but I mean,
but it's open enough for that.
Oh yeah.
And then it would seem like, I think you said before we came in here, it's more of a hey, let's do this tonight.
Yes.
It's not a ongoing.
I'm not saying that you can't play a campaign or play this for a long, because it even gives rules on how to advance your character, but you don't. It really is just narration type of advances and interpersonal advances between.
I think at that point you would just go from kid to teen to adult.
Right.
That's.
I mean that. To be honest, I think this would shine as either a one-off or a couple of sessions to just have just a fun. I could see this, especially around Halloween. For some reason, everybody wants to play a one-off zombie.
Or something like that.
This would be a great
something.
This would be a great one.
It's almost like a beer and pretzel role playing.
Yeah, if you want,
or a wine and cheese for the more sophisticated.
Figure out first if you want to do a goofy game or a serious game or a dark game and everything. See what everybody's vibe is, and that's what's really nice about this is this is adaptable enough. You're not locked into one type of setting or one type of anything.
It's so simple and vague and.
Right.
I guess it has its points.
I mean, overall, like I said, I would like to see a little more structure with it because it's being really ambiguous sometimes is tough. Sometimes it's tough. Like with Blades in the Dark, it was all this cool. It's like a huge coolness factor to it, but there's aspects of it where it's okay, so you have these flashbacks, and if you get hurt while you're on a flashback, and you break your ankle, why would you be going on this mission? Like that type of stuff. But that's where the ambiguous stuff that kind of gets me. But other than that, I love storytelling more than give me story over
to me, it could
rules
gloss
any
over
day.
that.
Right.
That could be whatever.
I mean, overall, out of 10, I mean, for a $25 book that you get a total system basically. I mean, granted, this is not giving you anything other than the rules and how to create stuff. Like there's no like here's a sample city or a sample whatever.
Yeah, but the players are doing all the work.
Right.
I mean,
right.
everybody's doing
but
their own work.
Let's face it. There's a lot of people who sometimes don't really have the imagination. You got
you got
two or three people in the group who are like going into great detail, and one person's like, "Well, when do I hit stuff?"
I got a blue shirt on.
Yeah, like
no.
I mean, if you want to,
well, you don't invite those people.
Well, yeah, that's very true. That's
you know, you gotta pick your audience.
If you're looking for like a sleigh fest, this is not the game.
Pick your players. Go play. Yeah.
But overall, in all honesty, for $25, picking up this book off the shelf, I would give this a good 7.5 out of 10.
That's not bad.
Not at all. Newer players, I think, would have a little bit of difficulty with it because I really think, unless you can think on your feet really well and kind of have been role playing for a bit.
It's like anything. When you're new to something, you need something with more structure. This has This has very. This is
very open.
So I wouldn't try anything if you're new. D&D. You know, you're basic. You're very structured. Here are the rules. Here's what you can do. Blah.
This is what you can't do.
Yeah. As you grow, that's when you go. Oh, okay, that's cool.
But I mean, overall, the premise of the game is cool. I mean, who doesn't like Stranger Things? Mm-hmm. You know, if you're watching this, I mean, come on, you probably watched Stranger Things.
I mean, Stranger Things was. That's just we all had it,
right?
You know, we all did it,
right? It tapped into that whole nostalgic.
It's not like anybody came up with this idea that was Stranger Things. Like, oh, that's new or different. No,
right?
We all lived that as a kid.
They took a lot of cool stuff and threw it together and made it nostalgic.
That was a good storytelling. And I'm not taking anything away from them. You know,
I mean, to be honest, I think it would be really cool to even have like a couple of one-offs where, in my mind, you play one game in the 30s, and then you're playing another game in the 50s, and they're investigating the weird stuff that happened.
Like a reoccurring item.
Yeah. Like
might have every,
as the generations go on.
23 years or some kind of or a GP creepy thing.
Right. But, you know, like something that would make it interesting. I could see that happening with this really well. And I could see that as almost a campaign or like hey, you know, let's take a break from our regular game and we'll do this.
Throw
and then
that in there.
Throw it in again at another time. And I mean, that's always fun to do too. So yeah, a good 7.5 for $25 is awesome. Mm-hmm. It's awesome. So I enjoyed reading it. I think doing a one-off with this with the right group, depending on how dark and sadistic people would want to get with it, it would be really fun. Or even just a goofy game, that'd be good. So.
Yeah. All right, cool. All right, we'll pick it up. We have it. I think we do. Do we have this? I know I got a couple copies.
Yeah.
I know. I didn't see them when we were moving, so maybe we sold them. But I'll check it. Something I'll keep in stock now that we've done this. So come on in, check it out. Any last things?
No, coming to the store.
All right, coming to the store. What are we going to do next?
Delta Green. Agent's Handbook.
All right.
Yeah.
Maybe closer to Halloween?
Yes, probably.
Okay. Well.
No, you wanted... Actually, we'd probably be doing... what was the one that...
Yeah, remember Plan B? Because I probably didn't get it done. It's probably going to be Plan B.
It's probably going to be
We'll
Plan
come up with it. But yeah, right. Delta Green's going to come up here because I want to get you I want to get you both books.
Okay.
So you can read them. So you got the one.
So I have 1,000 pages of reading.
Well, yeah, I mean, come on.
Hey, I don't mind.
No, I figured you liked it.
I love Delta Green. I absolutely love Delta Green.
Outbreak Undead I'd like to do. Let me see. I can pull that up. I got the real starter set, but I thought that was a cool concept. So let me just double check it, and I'll try to read it.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. And as always, if anybody out there has a game that they would love for us to review and get, for some reason, my 2 cents on it, let us know in the comments, and I would love to review whatever you guys say.
And if you're looking to rent a podcast area, or you want to try your podcast, we have a cheap podcast area here. It's not cheap, but it's good, but it's probably not as pricey as somewhere. We have no idea what to charge. So, but Josh, you have a charge? You have a sheet up?
Yes.
Is it on the website?
I think so.
You think so? All right, Josh's going to put it up. But if you're thinking about doing any kind of podcast, it doesn't have to be gaming related or video related. It just has to be something, you know, if it's something crazy, we might have to put a disclaimer that we don't agree with what you're saying. But it's a rental, you know, basically is what you're doing. Yeah. And don't forget, we also have the Rusty Dragon Inn, which is a private gaming area with a capable of ultimate gaming. It's $25 for a 4-hour block or $50 for all day. Usually it's either morning or night. Check availability. Call Josh. Call the store. See if you're available. If you are, we can pencil you in.
It's a cool game.
It is a very cool game. We keep trying to improve it as we go. So it's getting there. It's getting there. And Can't think of anything else.
Oh, you got what, Monday night or Friday Night Magic up here. We got Friday Night 40K.
The usual
Friday Night
stuff.
40K stuff. Come on
Friday
down
Night
if you want to play
40K,
some
yeah.
Kill Team or 40K.
I still think it's still hot out, but come
Yeah.
on. Winter, fall. It's
Yeah.
gonna get cold. Everybody want to go inside.
People become hermits again, and,
Man.
I haven't seen these miniatures in a while. We'll do that.
I've just finished painting my troll. Ugh, it came out terrible for Lord of the Rings game.
There's no such thing as a badly painted miniature.
It came out terrible.
If it's got paint on it, it's vastly better than any miniature that doesn't.
Dip. All right, guys. Until next time. See you later.
Have a good one.